Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. Trump's team leaks a chat app. X gets wiped out in a cyber attack. Russia threatens digital war. The UK fears quantum hackers. Meanwhile, Adam Bates says it's not tags or missiles we need, it's blockchain. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, CMO of MultiversX, Adam Bates. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much for inviting me to come on here and talk about something to do with blockchain that isn't DeFi and the price of crypto going up and down.
Or is it tariffs? It's not tariffs. Because if I hear tariffs one more time, I think I'm going to lose it, and I think my stock portfolio doesn't want to hear it as well. Let's get into all the things that I mentioned in the intro. Do you think we are already in the first stages of digital warfare? Because it sounds to me like things between China and America are only going to escalate.
I don't think we're in the first stages. I think we had the first stages decades ago, ever since the Cold War. I mean, this is just an ongoing form of digital attack that has advanced rapidly because of AI, the ability of the internet to connect everybody. And so all systems are interlocked together. The fact that we trust social media more for our information than traditional news channels. So if something comes out on X, we go, well, we believe that. Now, Can we fact check it? Do we know it's true? So the world is full of opinions. And then if you look at how warfare is being fought, traditionally, you'd have a massive army like the Iraqis did, like North Korea has, and to some extent, Russia and Ukraine. But you throw in a few drones, you throw in a few digital strikes, etc., and you've got, you used to have the army, used to have the navy, used to have the air force, and now you've got the keyboard warriors. And so if and the simplest thing, you watch any traditional military or attack on a country, the first thing you hit is infrastructure. That's it. You can't tell people where to go. So I think the reality of a cyber war is really, really important. And there's to consider. And there are two parts, well, actually three parts to that. There's the prevention, which governments aren't traditionally good at. They sort of wait till it happens and say, we should have done that, and point the finger at somebody else. You've got the actual attack itself. And then you've got disaster recovery, and things don't go back to normal quickly. They just don't. So I think it's just getting more and more and more advanced, and I think it will accentuate with AI.
Elon said yesterday on X, and he said something that I've been pondering on for a while. It's that the next war would be through drones, and drones are, for those that don't know, everyone knows what a drone is, but how they work is basically through a mesh, like AI mesh, that makes that they can communicate together and makes that you can control them. And to me, that's very scary because we are so used to armies being, like you said, the people, the tanks, the guns, the whatever, right? You've got your army, navy, and now suddenly we're going into this cyber warfare where everything can be overtaken, and we've got these things flying in the sky and we don't even know what's going on.
No, I think drones is a really interesting area. Because the cost of them is next to nothing. So there's a couple of things. I don't know whether you remember, about 2, 3, 4 months ago, there was one of these big displays in the air with drones.
Yes. The fireworks, they use it instead of fireworks. Yeah.
And they failed. Some of them failed and fell into the crowd. Now these aren't armed. This is just an accident. So there's a couple of things with drones. Drones, there's no loss of human life. They're inexpensive to make, so it doesn't really matter. They can carry explosives. They can monitor where people are as well. If you go back to, say, the Second World War with the Stukas, they had the great big sound box in there. If you're sitting in your living room and suddenly you hear like something out of Apocalypse Now coming over, and the sky is filled with swarms, there's going to instill panic. So they're a terror in the purest sense weapon as well.
Yes.
And then there is the physical element to it as well. Anything dropped from over 1,000 feet onto your house, onto people, let alone if it has an explosive, will cause damage. And then you can have them to target people, round them up. So one of the things people don't think about with AI and cyber attacks is physical attacks. Now, if you saw Kawasaki's robo-dog motorbike thing, whether that was an April Fool, I don't know. But imagine 20, 30 of those charging down the streets at you. It's like something out of a Halo game. And if you can control those. Now, the other thing as well, if you can hack it, you can turn all your adversaries' weapons against you or against them.
Yeah.
So there's all these elements as well, like the spy in the sky sort of thing. So yeah, it's just an advancement on weapons.
I keep seeing these robots, right? And I'm not sure if it's CGI or if it's real. That's the thing about video, and we'll get to that in a bit. In the AI age, when someone shares a video, first of all, you have to pause and look and say, hey, is this real or not? Because we're so used to saying, oh, this is a video, this is moving images, this is not, it can't be doctored, whatever. This is real. And now I'm seeing these robots and they're all like fighting and doing spinning kicks and I'm like, I thought these robots were supposed to help us. I thought I'm going to have a butler, or we're going to put them in Amazon warehouses or Walmart warehouses. Now we're going to use them for combat. That's really strange to me.
There's always two sides to any technical advance. Oppenheimer gives us unlimited power. It gives us the ability to wipe out mankind. So that will always be the case. And if you go down the robotics rabbit hole for a bit, robots are designed to support and help us. But if you understand the three laws of robotics from Isaac Asimov, and then you watch iRobot, it'll be, it saves the adult that's drowning, not the child, because the adult has a higher chance of survival, whereas a human would always save the child.
Yes.
So there are these elements with robotics, and like with anything, there will always be something will always be used for good, and something will always be used for evil. The internet, my view of the internet in its early stages was that it was designed to bring all the scientists of the world together to find a cure for incurable diseases, where they could share all their data. And then it becomes weaponized, it becomes socialized, it becomes... If you really want to go down this rabbit hole, you want to watch a film called Brainstorm, which was the first piece of design I ever did for the poster. It's got Christopher Walken in it, and it's got Natalie Wood. It was the last film. It's called Brainstorm, long film in probably the 80s. And it records your brainwaves. And it's like a 50-year-old film, 40-year-old film, and it's still interesting about how something that can be used for good can be used for evil as well. But that's just human nature. Robots, robots. I'm sure that when the wheel was invented, or the horse came along and carriages and everything else came along, they all thought there's going to be good. The wheel was brilliant, but we can create chariots so that we can kill everybody. So even the wheel is a bad thing in some people's lives. And if you're a slave, it just means I can build, roll bigger blocks up and build bigger pyramids. Anyway, that's just us as people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And bringing us back to the part of where you said the internet and why the internet was created, it's the rise, and we're seeing the rise of deepfake. Okay. So deepfake used to be, if you're very good at Photoshop, or Adobe Photoshop, or whatever tool, then you could create a deepfake, right? So it wasn't, and now with AI, and you've got Grok, you've got GPT, you've got Midjourney, all have certain rails, but you can, if you know what you're doing, you can bypass them. And some of these are, they're so good that it looks lifelike, right? It will fool, I think, 90 to 95% of the people. We've seen this where things were shared and people go, and just reshared, and the internet goes, and there's a little voice that says, hey, this is fake, and everyone like, shut up, not listening to you now, we're too busy with this is defending our point, or this is making my point for me, or whatever. And then we've got that, and you couple with speech recognition, which is making leaps and bounds. What type of threats are we going to see coming in terms of scams, do you think?
I think all scams are based on humans' ability to want to believe what they're being told. I think fundamentally we're not suspicious enough. because we generally like to think people are nice. And I think they'll just become, more and more sophisticated as it goes on. It would just be like phishing. How do you know I'm real, Rocco? How do I know you're real? So
that's a very good. That's a very good question, because when I switch off my camera, you're away. If I put it on, then you're here. So I don't know.
I think you're going to have two levels of threats, and this is taking it very broadly. There's the very visible stuff, which is like, oh, I got scammed. I got catfished. Yeah. It's just a more advanced version of catfishing, and whether it's phishing and whether it's for your money, or the thing that happened, I think recently with on a Zoom call where they dummied the person and asked them to log in and share some information. And to be honest, whenever you send something on a WeTransfer or anything like, not WeTransfer, there are other forms of sending documentation. There are Google, all that stuff's accessible.
Yeah.
So I think.
And we saw, we saw with Signal, right? We saw with Signal the error of the human error as well. Yeah, Signal is not 100% safe, but wherever there's a human in the loop, you'll always have sort of a chain that's unsafe.
Yeah, and that's like the alleged Lazarus group that did the $1.4 billion hack of Ethereum. And they hacked a code because it was a human hack. So you're always going to be vulnerable to people. Always, it's like in the streets where people have the cones and the ball and the card tricks, and you're always going to be vulnerable to those. Yeah. You just can't help it. I think what cyber attacks and AI is doing now is that we seem to, maybe naively or quite happily, believe what we see on the internet. Because it comes from our computer, it's like I can't believe why people go to online casinos, because there's an algorithm behind that's doing it, versus they'd go into somewhere in Vegas to gamble. It's just, they call it the 2 beer rule. There are things on the internet that you wouldn't do in real life, but you would in real life after 2 beers. And so there is that element as well. I think it's the sophistication that comes in now with phishing, with voices. The fact that I could send you, I don't know whether you've got children, friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, and suddenly you get, hey, I'm real sorry, Dad, I'm stuck here. Look, I can't do it. Can you just send me something, please? Can you just do that? And you go, well, it sounds like my daughter. It sounds like whoever. I will just send them some money. It doesn't have to be a big scam. If you can just send a small amount every time to the masses, then you don't notice it. If $1 was to disappear from your account, you wouldn't notice it. 10,000, you might. No.
Yeah.
So I think the sophistication there is just playing to human vulnerability on a mass scale. It is like, hello, I'm a Nigerian king and I've got a diamond mine, and and there is stupid economics as well. There is a theory that says you do something that is so stupid and so obviously a scam that if people go for it, they're so stupid that they will go for it. I think it's where they target people that are more vulnerable, especially the elderly.
Shame.
And especially in the world of deliveries now. I'm not talking about cyber attack, but they are sort of cyber attacks. Say, oh, your DHL delivery.
Hasn't
You've
got a package.
Could you just check?
Yeah.
You've got a package.
Yeah.
Or your Amazon. Now, rarely do you go in and check your mail. And even then, correct. There are ways that they can have the correct email, they can have the correct phone number, and you call them. I think, you just have to be super, super aware on a human level. But I believe deep down we want to trust people. We do want to trust people. But if you say, look, that's the phone number, that's the email address, I'm talking to someone really nice on the other end, they're trying to help me. Yeah. Now, even if you say, don't send me money, which is what the Lazarus thing was, didn't ask you for any money. It just broke in on a human level. And then they did it in the background, because it doesn't take much to be able to hack into it. So that's at a very, very low level. And by being low level, it's affecting everyday people. And there is probably a way that blockchain might be able to help that, I believe.
Okay.
There are bigger threats.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the bigger threats are the ones we don't know about. Because the things like the pipeline attacks and the other bits and pieces, they're only the ones that are in the public domain.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about blockchain as infrastructure and the work that you guys do at MultiversX.
Okay.
I read a quote in somewhere that you said blockchain should be part of a national crisis management. What does it actually look like in a real world
I
scenario?
guess it works. I guess it works. I don't. Right. Let's do. There are two things. There is
Okay.
prevention
Mm,
and there is cure. If we look at the prevention thing, and if we look at it specifically for AI and AI agents,
mm-hmm.
the ability to check whether something is genuine in real time
Yeah.
is probably one of the few things that only blockchain can do because it's immutable.
Yes.
You just go in there and say, is Adam real? Fine. Can I check that? Is
Go
it on chain?
go
I
and look.
know. Go and look. Now, that doesn't mean doing it. And this is where a blockchain like MultiversX that can scale
Mm,
has an advantage as well.
mm,
I always thought blockchain was built not for crypto; it was built for a balance, not to constrain AI, just to give you a fact check and check it. So you should be able to go,
mm.
how much of that is true? I don't believe it can be 100% true or not, but it can be like,
Probabilistic.
this
Yeah.
looks like, based on everything I know, this
Mm,
is 80% Adam talking to me.
mm.
I don't, because there'll always be something in the background that will go, I don't know if I can verify that. And
Yeah.
almost if it's 100% true, then it's like, it's almost too good to be true.
Mm,
So I think then you make a judgment call. So in a perfect world, I would love to have something like on a browser that
mm,
just comes up, or on this, and it just has a little scale on it going 80% true. Now, whether you decide to accept that or not, it's up to you. If it says
yeah.
Adam's 20%, this is 20% true, you might go, that's fine, because it's nothing serious and it could be quite a laugh. So again, the ability of blockchain to do that, I think it's probably the one piece of technology that can do it, because it's decentralized, means that it's taken everything from everywhere, and
Uh-huh.
it shouldn't have the bias, or
Mm,
it takes in everyone else's bias. Now, we've seen with AI, depending on what you want, chat, Claude, DeepSeek, Grok, whatever it is, they will all give you a bias.
mm.
The same as the social media
You'll
platform.
get different answers.
Yeah. Depending on what your bias is, it's like reading a newspaper, watching a news channel, listening to a podcaster.
Yeah.
It all has that bias. You just have to accept that as well. The advantage of a limitlessly scalable blockchain has, and also a chain and a system that can do cross-chain platform, because
Mm-hmm.
one of the things in MultiversX and doing what was sovereign chains and now called lightspeed chains is the ability to work with other chains.
Mm,
So if you think of how much information are in these large language models,
mm,
and you think how fast they're changing and where they're gleaning all the internet for their information, and then they're pushing it out, all of
mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you check that in real time as fast as possible? Well, the only way that my view is
Mm-hmm.
that you can only do it with a blockchain that is limitlessly scalable, and with systems that allow you to look at other chains as well. Because I don't think you can get it. You can't get in and affect the large language model. That's proprietary. But
Yes.
you can say, there's two things. It's the ingredients going in.
Mm-hmm.
So how true was what's going in? Think of it. Think of it like a chef
Mm.
cooking a vegan recipe. I'm a vegan chef. Yeah, you might cook. I reckon 80% of my ingredients are vegan. Okay. Chef
Okay.
does it. I look at his chef's history. Actually, do you know what? He sticks a bit of beef fat in every now and again. So he's probably not going to be that vegan. And at the end of it, 50% of it is 50% likelihood it's going to be a genuine vegan meal. It's
Yeah.
up to you
Yeah.
whether you take it. And so blockchain can do it at the start or it can do it at the end.
Mm.
And it lets you have that judgment call. But it's decentralized. If it's got sub-second finality, if it's got the ability to work cross chains,
Mm.
then it gives you an option. You do not have to believe, but what it can give you is this is a prevention scale. It allows
Mm.
you to make an informed choice.
I
Yeah,
like the probabilistic nature, of saying 65%, 70%, 80%, whatever, because truth is subjective. Some
yep.
truths are subjective. There is nuance, there is context. But if I can get an 80%, I know, okay, there's reason to believe this might be true. Yes, there are bits. And what I feel, especially with platforms like X, which I mean, it's more open than others, and it's got community notes, but community notes been nerfed quite a bit, and it's like, how do I determine this is true? By using now their proprietary AI, which is Grok, to check the post. What do you think is Grok is going to tell me? It's got its own bias, so I can't use Grok to check if what X is showing me is true. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And so you have to, let's say you think something is 80% true, and let's say something is 20% true. It depends on the impact. Now, if that 80% true is, can you give me a fitness regime? How do I cure my migraines?
Yeah.
What should I invest in? That's less true. If it's 20% true, but it's just to do with the cooking recipe, there's not a real effect on that. If it's a cure for cancer, you'd like it to be 100% true, or a new structure for an aircraft engine.
Yeah.
So again, you've got your biases and everything within that. And I think it's a bit like the Matrix, where, and I'll probably get the quote wrong, where Morpheus goes, "All I'm offering you is the truth. It's up to you whether you take the red pill or the blue pill." So in some ways, this is one element where I think blockchain can come in. So coming back to the original question, it gives you a chance to say, do I want to make a more informed decision? I think this is 60% true, 20% true, whatever. Based on what I am, I'm prepared to take that risk. Great. If you then go to the other side, so that's prevention. If you look at cure, let's say that a bank was wiped out tomorrow. Let's say
Could happen.
The UK,
Could happen.
HMRC. Yeah.
Could happen.
You've seen it on Die Hard 4. Hey, look, your pension's gone. And it's just hacked and disappear. Yeah, but it's pretty. So it's done.
Yeah,
and it was all stored on that central database. But let's say it was how a nuclear power station worked to restart it. Let's say it was how a power grid worked. If it's all stored something centrally and that's wiped out, how do you get it back? Whereas if it's on chain, it's decentralized. It has not a single point of weakness. So you could go, crikey, I've just paid 30 years into my pension and it's disappeared and it's all been wiped out and it's gone to Lazarus Group in North Korea and they're all buying Ferraris now, or whatever it might be. But actually you can pull the whole thing back. And disaster recovery is probably an area that doesn't get, unless there is a disaster, doesn't get, most disasters are floods, famine, earthquakes, horrible things like that. But let's just say, you had to look at recently in the States where there was all the thing about US aid and they thought, are we going to cancel it?
I follow you because you basically, we haven't had one and it's due. It's due. Never say never. We haven't had a big one. It could happen.
No. But we've had ones that have happened maybe inadvertently. In the UK, the end of January is the end of our tax year in the UK. It's also the end of the month when people get paid. So what a really good day to upgrade your banking systems. And so there was a fault in the UK, and it meant that the time of year when people had to pay tax bills, got their salaries, paid their mortgage, affected 40% of people. And you couldn't do anything to fix it fast because it was all centralized through that one bank. Now, let's say that had been an attack. Then you're relying on those people, let alone them getting the right information. Because they might log in and they might see something that says, no, it's all fine. It's all rubbish. It's just something on X. It's panic people. So blockchain can allow that to come back fast because if we go down this rabbit hole, let's talk about a new form of warfare. When you have an external attack, the last thing you want is to be looking at an internal attack at the same time as well. You want the people on your side. So if you can distract them, you can cause civil unrest. Actually, I'm going to be invaded by these drones, but I've lost my pension. But actually, on social media, it says everything's fine. Oh, I've got a deep fake of our prime minister. Then it just causes chaos. And then chaos breeds fear, and chaos usually builds unrest, which means
nationalism.
That the government.
There we go. World War III. There we go.
And then you just disrupt it. You get this dystopian, if that's a correct saying of the word, I never usually say it. You get this society where everyone says, I don't trust them. How do I do it? I can't make my payments. I can't go and buy food. I can't do. So there are ways that because they're all centralized, if they are decentralized, that you can do. This is just talking on a much bigger scale. You shut down nuclear power stations. Look what happens if there was a blackout in New York tomorrow. It's like panic. Everyone's on the tube. What's happening? Is it everyone go, is it an attack? Are we being attacked by the Russians or whoever it might be? So even if it's only for an hour. So so again, you've got blockchain can work in a way that it can validate or give you the option, I think, to say, is this true or not? Make a decision. But if there is something serious that happens, I'm not saying it can prevent it.
No.
That's a different type of thing. Yes, you might say that you could prevent drones being hacked, but that's above my pay grade. But what I can say, if the whole drone system went down and you need to reboot it, if it was in a central server, you're screwed. But if it's decentralized, you can probably bring it online better. And that's in a bigger area as well. When you look at, so anyway, long answer to a sort of shorter question.
Adam, what a way to leave it. Interesting. Thoroughly enjoyed it. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and MultiversX, where can they do that?
Just go on to X. I have a really complicated name on X. It's my name with X in front of it. There's nothing like, it's not called
Zaydam.
deepfake bot, deepfake baddie boy. It's not. It's my name. It's like, but it's an interesting area as well. And I think the challenges that we have now is the technology isn't in the hands of governments. It's in the hands of big tech. And therefore, for governments to catch up is going to be really hard. I think it has to be a default. In the same, if you think now, when you go on your browser and you see a padlock on Chrome, you think that's a safe site. Or HTTPS.
SSL, whatever,
you need it to be that clean. If you could have something in the top of a browser, whether it's on mobile, that is just got like a ticker that's saying 20%, 30%, 40%, 80%, that because it's a simple UI UX, that it's there all the time, or like Grammarly, Grammarly or something, where you just say, "Is this in English?"
But
so you just
but
run
also
it over it.
But also, like, you need to be careful because Twitter verification used to mean something. Right? And the blue tick used to stand for, I know this is a verified person. Once Elon changed that, he changed the whole dynamic of what it is, what it stands for. So you need to make sure that whatever is behind that is trustworthy, and that's where decentralization comes. It's not in the hands of a billionaire who decides, I'm going to monetize this thing and it's just a free for all, and now it's just bots with verification. That doesn't work.
I mean, I think the purchase of X was probably one of the greatest moves that Elon's ever made, because it's given him access to the biggest database for AI. It was nothing, my opinion, it was nothing to do with social media. You've got billion plus users on there, and you've got their data, which you can then feed into your AI system. So it's interesting.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Anytime.
We'll put all the links in the comments. And what was I about to say? Oh, peace, love, and prosperity. We'll catch you on the next one.
Well,
cheers.
my deep fake is really enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Whispers in the hallway, turn the rumors in the crowd. Trying to paint a picture, but they smearing all the lines. They don't want the portrait, just the headline. Said I changed, I said yeah, that's the point. Used to beg for love, now I barely even join. These clicks, these scripts, this glitch in the mirror. I made peace with my past, but the present ain't clearer. I build walls from the sound of my own voice breaking. AI in the booth, but the pain ain't faking. Told my son don't inherit my ghosts, but my shadow still dance in the post. You heard me wrong. You heard me. You heard me wrong again. Thought I was gone, but I'm just bending, not breaking. You heard me wrong again. I ain't the villain in your fairy tale scene. I'm the author who bled on the margins unseen. Y'all want the beast, but y'all fear when he speaks. So I dress up the pain and design a mystique. Grammys on the shelf, but my guilt weigh more. They crown you king and they close the door. I talk to AI like it's therapy session. My voice but distorted, that's modern confession. Spotlight swinging, I step in the ring. They boo me for the truth, but I still let it sing. I'm trying to unlearn every mask that I wore, but they only cheer when I play folklore. Misunderstood in 808s and my lows. Still dreaming black and white like ghettos. If this is me at my worst, let it run. At least I showed up when they all chose none. You heard me wrong. You heard me. You heard me wrong again. Thought I was gone, but I'm just bending, not breaking. You heard me wrong again. You heard me? You heard me?